Ethan, a mere 12-year-old, was drowning in a sea of crimson Fs, each mark a fresh wound. His father, the formidable Mr. Harrison, a titan of industry with an empire stretching to the sky, had branded him worthless and was poised to ship him away to an elite boarding school, a place where failures simply vanished. No high-priced tutor, no renowned specialist flown in from across the globe could pierce the fog that clouded Ethan's world. His father's patience had evaporated like morning dew. Perhaps a boarding school will finally straighten him out, Mr. Harrison had gruffly informed his assistant, the words echoing through the cavernous marble halls, reaching Ethan's ears like a death knell. Boarding school wasn't just a new location, it was exile, a place for broken children to be forgotten. That night, clutching a crumpled test, Ethan whispered into the vast emptiness of his trophy-laden room, "Am I truly broken?" But unbeknownst to him, a quiet shift was approaching the grand mansion. Her name was Maria, a new maid. Arriving with nothing but a well-worn leather bag and a past she kept close to her heart. The other staff barely noticed her. Another temporary face, they whispered over the clatter of pots in the kitchen. "He drives them off faster than milk sours," a cook chuckled. But Maria just silently arranged her cleaning supplies, her hands moving with a quiet dignity. She had learned long ago that the loudest voices often saw the least. By late afternoon, dusting near the study, a furious scratching sound followed by a frustrated groan caught her attention. Peeking through the half-open door, she saw him, Ethan, his small shoulders hunched, blonde hair falling over his eyes, as he desperately tried to copy a simple line from his textbook. His tiny fist, red and raw from gripping the pencil too tightly, trembled. The paper was torn, scribbled over in angry frustration. Maria froze. A familiar ache tightened her chest. Oh, she knew that look, those wide, pleading eyes, the frustration boiling into shame. It was her own childhood staring back. She remembered her late mother's gentle voice, tracing letters in the air. "They don't hate you, mi amor. They just look different to you. We'll conquer them together." The memory, bittersweet, ignited a spark of purpose. Quietly, Maria stepped into the room. Ethan, startled, looked up, his face guarded, braced for another reprimand. Instead, she offered a soft, knowing smile. "You're gripping that pencil like a warrior's sword," she murmured. "No wonder the words are fighting back." Ethan blinked, utterly bewildered. No adult had ever spoken to him like that. Maria didn't press. She simply picked up a discarded paper, smoothed it out, and gently placed it back on the desk before returning to her dusting, a faint melody humming on her lips. Ethan watched her, his frown slowly dissolving into a flicker of curiosity. That night, as the staff gossiped, "Did you see her in the study? Think she's a tutor now?" Maria remained unfazed. She wasn't there for their approval. She was there because life had gifted her patience, a precious commodity she was ready to share. Upstairs, Ethan replayed her words, a comforting mantra. No wonder the words are fighting back. For the first time, he wasn't blamed, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he drifted into a peaceful sleep, unburdened by the crushing weight of failure. Their sessions began subtly. One evening, Maria found Ethan slumped over his books again, the lamp casting long, weary shadows. His pencil clattered to the floor. "Ever tried listening to the words instead of wrestling them?" she asked softly as she retrieved it. She pulled a chair close, and without a word took his textbook. Her finger moved slowly, deliberately, beneath a line as she read it aloud, not with the rapid-fire impatience of his past tutors, but as if giving each syllable room to breathe. Then she had him repeat it. His cheeks flushed as the letters jumbled. "See? I just can't. I'm broken." Maria leaned back, her voice firm yet gentle. "You are not broken, Mijo. You just perceive the world to a different rhythm. My mama taught me that very lesson. It took me years to believe her, but she was right." Ethan stared, wide-eyed. No one had ever understood, so Maria tried again. This time she drew shapes in the air, let him trace letters on the polished table, whispered the sounds instead of demanding perfect spelling. She dismantled the impossible into tiny, manageable pieces, just as her mother had done for her. And then, a miracle, he read an entire sentence without stumbling. His mouth fell open. Then slowly, a radiant smile bloomed. "I did it," he whispered in disbelief. Maria clapped softly, her grin infectious. "See? They don't hate you. They just needed you to slow down enough for them to truly understand you." That night, Ethan carried his book upstairs, rereading the sentence under his covers. The words finally were his friends. Weeks melted into months. Every quiet afternoon, Maria would join Ethan in the study. They worked with chalk on a blackboard, sounding out letters, slowly, patiently. There were tough days, filled with tears, crumpled papers, and frustrated slams of his fist. But she never rushed him, never scolded him. The staff whispers grew louder. She's teaching him? A maid? The boss will fire her. But when Ethan saw Maria in the halls, his face lit up. He'd wait for her, pencils sharpened, eyes bright. One morning Mr. Harrison burst into the study, a fresh stack of failing tests in his hand, only to freeze. His son wasn't crumbling in despair. He was intently sounding out a line in a workbook, with Maria gently guiding him. The billionaire's brow furrowed, but he said nothing, simply placed the tests down and left. Yet Ethan didn't flinch. He felt for the first time like he was actually winning. Maria knew this was just the beginning. The final test day arrived quietly, without the usual fanfare of tutors or specialists. Just Ethan, a sharpened pencil, and the quiet wisdom whispered by a woman the world had dismissed. He sat at his desk, shoulders steady. Maria lingered in the doorway, a silent beacon, offering the same encouraging nod her mother had once given her. You've got this. When he finished, Ethan walked the paper himself to his father's office, his hands trembling slightly, but his head held higher than it had been in years. Mr. Harrison, immersed in a mountain of contracts, impatiently took the paper. His eyes casually scanned the top, then widened. An A, not a sympathetic grade, not a curve, a clean, undeniable A. For a long moment, he simply stared, as if the paper had betrayed every expectation. Ethan waited for the inevitable sigh of disappointment, but it never came. Instead, his father looked up sharply. How? Ethan didn't answer directly. He simply turned his head, his gaze settling on Maria, standing quietly in the doorway, cleaning rags still in hand. Miss Harrison followed his son's gaze, and for the very first time, he truly saw her. Not just the staff, not just a name on a payroll, but the extraordinary person who had achieved what all his money never could. He leaned back, the paper still trembling slightly in his grasp. The silence in the office was profound, broken only by the steady small breath of his son. Word rippled through the mansion like wildfire. The boy aced it. Can you believe it? The maid actually did it. Maria, however, showed no outward triumph. She simply returned to polishing the silver, a quiet warmth blooming in her chest, a pride in her mother's enduring legacy. That evening, Mr. Harrison summoned her to the study. Maria braced herself for a reprimand, for daring to step beyond her duty, but instead, he laid the graded paper between them. You saved him, he said, his voice surprisingly low, almost humbled. Name your raise. From now on you will be his tutor. You won't scrub floors again. Maria's throat tightened with emotion, but she nodded, her resolve firm. As she left, her eyes burned with unshed tears. Weeks bled into months, and Ethan's grades soared. Teachers at school whispered in astonishment. Is this the same child? He's brilliant. He just needed someone to meet him where he was. The mansion transformed to laughter. Once a stranger, now echoed through the halls. Ethan no longer hid his papers. He proudly displayed them on the fridge, even the imperfect ones, for he understood now that progress, not just perfection, was a victory. And Mr. Harris, he learned a profound truth wealth had never revealed. Brilliance doesn't wither under pressure. It blossoms under the gentle sun of patience. Maria remained by Ethan's side, no longer a maid, but a guiding light. To him she was more than the woman who taught him to read. She was living proof that even the most overlooked souls carry miracles within them. Because sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to give up on you, to remind you that you were never broken to begin with.